evening, Metal Faithful. It is I, your mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich, broadcasting deep underground in my bunker, social distancing away from the rest of the world. This is the Metal Hammer of Doom. Late, but not forgotten. We were supposed to, we being myself and the disapproving dad, Jesse Starcher, we're supposed to record this episode Wednesday night, our usual Metal Hammer of Doom recording time. But duty calls. Jesse Starcher is busy. He was not available to do the Metal Hammer of Doom. And yet, we must move forward. I find it's best in these trying times to cling to what passes as normal in your neck of the woods. And for me, I try to keep to my schedule. It's the one thing I know I can depend on. It's the thing that keeps me sane. I look at my calendar of dates and I go, okay, if nothing else, I know I've got this ahead of me. I know I can plan for this and I can do it and it'll be fine. And so here we are. It's Saturday. I'm off from work. Jesse is currently working. He's serving the people of Ohio as he does. And nobody else in the Radulich and Broadcasting family gives two shits and a fuck about the band Code Orange. Now, Code Orange are a metalcore / industrial hardcore band, currently on the Roadrunner label. They have released their fourth studio album, Underneath, on March 13th, 2020. That's what we'll be reviewing tonight. We already dropped a Metal Hammer of Doom extra for Swallowing the Rabbit Hole, and good times were had, and the laughs were had as well. So, we're gonna, we as in me, the royal we, we're going to review this album, tracks 2 through 14. I'm not going to play the first track because it's, once again, a bunch of intro, ambient noise, and such. So here we go. I don't have to do a lot of switching around tonight. You can just hit play, hit stop play, just keep on going. You're only getting me tonight, ladies and gentlemen, so if you're like, oh, I like that Mark guy, but the rest of these people can piss off, well, then this is the show for you. I'm riding solo. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll continue to ride solo as Jesse is unavailable and nobody else wants to do these. Maybe I won't. One never knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men. The shadow do, as my father would say. That is a way messed up phrase, by the way. That's like 2 or 3 different phrases all kind of mashed together in improper English. Anyway, this is the second single we're going to start off with. About 25 seconds in. I'm going to play about a minute of each track as we normally do. This was released February 7th, 2020. This is Swallowing the Rabbit Hole. That's about a minute or so since I started it. Really good start off to this album. Pretty heavy stuff there. If you're into the metalcore, it's that fusion of growling, screaming metal with more of a punk rock aesthetic behind it. And I think they capture that pretty well. The other phrase I used with this was, industrial hardcore, according to the wiki. And you can definitely hear elements of that in that song, so I can see why they released that as a single. The band released music videos directed by Max Moore for the title song Underneath, which we'll hear in a little bit. It's actually the last track on here. And the aforementioned Swallowing the Rabbit Hole. There's a third single that was released, Sulfur Surrounding, with a video animated and directed by the band's Eric Balderos, which was released on March 9th. So that's a little bit more about the promotion for this album. We had a couple of additional musicians here. Nicole Dolliganger, who's a Canadian singer-songwriter. She provided additional vocals among her on the tracks Swallowing the Rabbit Hole and Cold.Metal.Place. Also Deeper Than Before. Chris Vrenna, he provided additional programming. Alright, so let's keep going. This next track is called In Fear. Here come the breakdown. All right, so that one was more methodical, a little bit slower, a little bit, one might even say doomier. It's still good, still pretty heavy. If you're into Code Orange, you might be somebody who actually appreciates some of the slower tempo songs. I think if you've been listening to this show long enough, I like a lot of the thrashy stuff. But still, so far, so good. Pretty heavy. We're going to keep it rocking and rolling here. This one is called You and You Alone. Now we're talking. See, that's more my speed. So, reading the wiki, just thought was interesting here. The band uses elements of electronica, industrial groove metal, and hip hop. Well, I'm not seeing any hip hop just yet, but I'm sure it's there somewhere in their catalog. They cite Hatebreed, Converge, Pantera, Nine Inch Nails, and Earth Crisis. How many of you kids out there know what the Earth Crisis is? Because when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's what I'm hearing. Especially later era Earth Crisis. If I look at their discography, I know the one that Gomorrah Season Ends. Yeah, if you've this is one of those times where if Jesse were here, I'd start playing him stuff from this album. But Gomorrah Season Ends, that era, Earth Crisis, where they got much heavier as time went on. This album was released in 1996. I can definitely hear those elements of that era Earth Crisis in Code Orange. So, interesting to me. We're going to keep it moving on here. This next one is Who I Am. That's about all I can play of that one before it gets to be too long. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I know I see some weird stuff on here, some out of the box, out of the ballpark, out of my mind type of things. But I heard a little Deftones in there, not a lot, and certainly the pitch of the singer's voice was higher in tone than the singer of the Deftones. But here, let me tell you what I'm trying to say, because there's a specific song. It's a cover, actually, by the Deftones that I want you to hear. The benefit of doing this by myself is I can pause it at will when there's no flow and I have to actually stop and look for stuff. But here we go. This is the 2005 remaster of the Deftones cover, the Sade original, No Ordinary Love.
I give you all the love I got. I gave you more than I could give. I gave you love. I gave you all that I had inside, and you took my love. You took my love. Didn't I tell you what I believe? Somebody say that a love like ours will last. Didn't I give you all that I got to give, babe? I gave you all the love I got. I gave you more than I could give. I gave you love. And I gave you all that I had inside, and you took my love. You took my love. I keep trying.
All right, so I'm going to play a little bit more now of Who I Am from where we left off before. Maybe I'm crazy, but I was hearing a little Deftones No Ordinary Love in Who I Am by Code Orange from the album Underneath. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe you're like, just play the fucking songs, dude. Maybe not. Maybe we're all going to learn something today. Here we go. I mean, it's there. Not a total parallel, but I think if Jesse were here, he would back me up and say, yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down. I'm seeing some similarities between the two. All right, let's move on. This is the aforementioned cold.metal.place. Alright, it's fine. I don't love that one. So far, of all the ones we've heard, that's probably my least favorite. It's not bad. It's just not... It doesn't tickle my sack, as we say here on the Metal Hammer of Doom. So, if you listen to the show just because you never know what kind of zany things are going to come flying out of my or Jesse's mouth, but you're not exactly into Code Orange, you don't know much about them. So they formed in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in 2008, so the wiki tells me. And they initially had formed under the name Code Orange Kids. They started playing out really straightforward punk, which I think is how I knew them, but would eventually take their music in a heavier direction with the introduction of new member Bob Rizzo, who met the band at a local show, like you do. By 2012, the band had described themselves as doomy and abrasive, which is what you get from that last track. And I'm going to tell you right now, right here on the Metal Hammer of Doom, I, Mark Radulich, am not a huge fan of the doom metal. I might listen to a little Opeth here or there, but it's not my favorite thing. These are not a few of my favorite things, the doom, the gloom metal. But they did describe themselves as doomy and abrasive. Hardcore punk similar to Black Flag, Converge, or Integrity. The band found some difficulty touring in their early days because all the members went to various high schools in Pennsylvania. They were not old enough to play at some of the clubs and could only tour between semesters. So there was this band when I was growing up in New York, and I was in my 20s when I think they were around, but they were like anywhere from like 8 or 9 years old to maybe like 12 or 13. They were called the Death Kids. What a hoot they were. That's what this reminds me of. Anyway, despite this, Code Orange Kids opened for such bands as The Misfits, The Bronx, Necromantics, and Anti-Flag. Like me some Anti-Flag from back in the day. Early self-published releases from Code Orange Kids include 2009's Winter Tour Demo, 2010's Demo 2010, and 2011's Embrace Me, Erase Me. The Code Orange Kids released EP Cycles through Mayfly Records in 2011, and so it goes on. And we'll come back to this in a little bit, tell you a little bit more about this band as we move forward through this album review. This next one is called Sulfur Surrounding.
Let's take a good look at you.
one's not bad. A little bit better than the one prior. So, if you're wondering why Code Orange, well, of all the albums that were released in the past week, this was probably the most widely known of all those bands, the most interesting. So, the other reason why I am aware of Code Orange, other than I was aware of them when they were Code Orange kids, vaguely at least, is because of their association with the WWE. Believe it or not. In August of 2017, Bleeding the Blur was announced as one of the official theme songs for NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3. At the event held at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, Code Orange were the first band to ever play live at an NXT show. They opened the event with a performance of Bleeding the Blur, before later performing a live version of Aleister Black's entrance music, Root of All Evil, with incendiary vocalist Brendan Garone, who appears on the original version of the song. The band played Black to the ring for his match with Hideo Itami, who has now since gone back to New Japan. Code Orange released a single around that time, Only One Way, on February 8th, 2018, through the Adult Swim Singles program. They followed it with a remix by guitarist Eric Shade Balderos called Only One the Hard Way. During WWE's pay-per-view SummerSlam, this is what I was telling Jesse about, August 2019, professional wrestler Bray Wyatt had debuted his Fiend persona. He had been doing the Firefly Funhouse up to this point. He had new entrance music performed by Code Orange. The song Let Me In is a reimagining of Mark Crozer's song Live in Fear, which was Wyatt's old theme before leaving WWE programming in November of 2018 and creating a new version of said character. So there you go. It all comes back to wrestling. Mark that spot on your bingo card, everybody. Let's go on to our next track. This ain't no easy way out. It's just the easy way. Now that's my shit. Now we're talking. The easy way. There you could see that late 90s, early 2000s industrial feel. Very cool stuff there. Probably. It's kind of tied right now with Swallowing the Rabbit Hole. But the easy way might be my favorite track of the album so far. We'll see. Still got 6 tracks to go here. Let's keep it going on. This next one is Erasure Scan. So, on the one hand, I credit Code Orange on underneath for not being samey. We've had varying styles of metal, subgenres, if you will. There's a lot of dynamic progression on this album. No 2 tracks are totally similar. We've had a lot of different sounds here. This has been quite the paella of metal music. So, that's good. It's keeping me interested. However, there are some... I don't love every single style of metal. And there are some styles here that I don't find particularly... But I will say this. And and that last one, I don't. That style of like death metal where it's just constantly shifting tempos. I like more rhythm in my music. That's just a personal thing. So where it just seems like they can't settle on a rhythm. It's one thing to kind of like we go this far and then then there's a breakdown or a chorus or something and we change rhythm and then we're back again. I like my music a little bit more standard. But I know some people like this sort of thing, and you got a lot of that on your Erasure scan there. Let's keep it going on here. This next one is called Last Ones Left. That's a good one too. I was definitely digging the chorus there. So, I'm just one guy with a podcast, one of 1.21 zillion with a podcast, with just one opinion. But let's look at the professionals. What did they think? So, Any Decent Music has an aggregate score of 8 of 10. Metacritic has an aggregate score of 84 out of 100. So, pretty good. The critical reception excuse me. It's pretty high for this. People have been really enjoying it. Clash gave it 9 of 10. Consequence of Sound gave it an A. Exclaim, with an exclamation mark, gave it a 7 out of 10. The Guardian, alright, in our Calm the Fuck Down rating, gave it a 5 out of 5. Sure. The Independent, 4 out of 5. It seems more appropriate. Kerrang, 5 out of 5. Metal Hammer, 5 out of 5. Metal Sucks, 4 out of 5. Enemy, 4 out of 5. Pitchfork didn't love it. Holy crap. Pitchfork gave it a 4.5 out of 10. Me oh my. What was the problem here with Pitchfork? Well, I just happen to have the Pitchfork review right here. Oh boy, here we go. Code Orange have been on the brink of a breakthrough since they were teenagers. 12 years ago, the Pittsburgh Kids rose from the local ranks of the taste-making Death Wish imprint before making their major label debut in 2017's Forever. Abrasive and volatile, yet accessible, sure. Forever became a consensus critical favorite, topping year-end lists at Rolling Stone and Revolver and prompting praise from the New York Times when it was nominated for a Grammy. They were a hit away, it seemed, from crossing over into whatever's left of mainstream rock. Oh, calm the fuck down. But Code Orange's second album for Roadrunner, the exhausting and uneven Underneath, lands like a glib attempt to do just that while forsaking the idiosyncrasies that made them interesting. I don't know what you're talking about, Pitchfork. Recorded with Nick Raskelin, who has spent 25 years helming consistently middling efforts from the likes of Ghost and Korn. Underneath aims to justify Code Orange's major label existence, from its rigorously high concept about the psychological damage of our digital reality to the warmed-over rock radio moves of its would-be hits. During You and You Alone, Jamie Morgan seethed, "It's killing me, every line you scribble on the page, and trying to be an amalgamation of everything you see." It's an unintentional encapsulation of Underneath, an album that wants to be so much, it's barely anything at all. Well, I don't think that's fair. We'll come back to this in just a moment. I'm going to have issues with you, Pitchfork. 4 out of 5. Doesn't seem right. You're standing apart from your peers who gave this high marks, and deservedly so, in my opinion. This is Autumn and Carbine. So, many years ago, I worked in a record store, and Metallica had just released a new album. Might have been either Load or Reload. I don't remember exactly what year this was. Probably Load. And it was a 6 CD. I think I've told the story on here before, but it was a 6 CD changer. So, for you kids who only know the streaming, it's a tray that has 6 spots for CDs, and you can either mix them up or play them continuously, whatever. And I put it in there, and I thought I picked the right part of the tray to play the new Metallica. And I had heard up to this point that the new Metallica was unlike anything that they had put out before. That it wasn't quite the and justice for all master of puppets type of Metallica that we had been used to. Even in a world post the Black Album. So when I heard what I heard coming out of the stereo, I wasn't totally shocked, but I was like, wow, this sounds way different than what I thought it would be. Like, it was Cat Stevens is what it was. I picked the wrong disc. And I tell you that story, that I thought I was listening to Metallica and it turns out it was Cat Stevens. I may have been high. Who knows? I was listening to that last track, Autumn and Carbine, and if you've been with me up to this point, and I know you have because you've been listening, there's been at least, whether it's more industrial, more death, more hardcore, there's been at least a consistent heaviness. It's still revolving within the same overall genre of metal. And I played that Autumn and Carbine song, and I was like, did I accidentally put on a different album? Holy crap. Wow, was that different. And it's so funny because I'm sitting here ready to defend this band and this album against the slings and arrows of this pitchfork review. And it's like, oh, well, okay. On that one, I can see what they're talking about. Wow, that's crap. I mean, all right, that's harsh. It doesn't fit with any of the rest of this album, which is already kind of all over the place. Which is weird, right? You would think if it's all over the place, this would find a spot in there somewhere. I honestly thought I was listening to, like, the Hollywood Undead or something. I thought I had the wrong album on. What a weird out of left field song that was. It's also, I also don't love it. It's probably the worst thing I've heard on here so far. So, let's hopefully, we got 3 tracks left. Let's see if they pick it up here. This one's a short one. It's only 2.5 minutes long. Those tend to be quite the, yeah, to the fax machine, gallopy, thrashy, punch him in the face type songs. See what happens. Could be 2 minutes of Pips farting on a snare drum. This is Back Inside the Glass. Control me, what to do. Maniac in my own construction. Now we're talking. It was not Pip farting on Sandrum. Which is good. All right. Back to Pitchfork. The central idea is obvious enough. Our online lives cause dangerously wide divisions within our personalities. Okay. No argument there. Code Orange call nomophobia a neologism for the fear of being without your phone. Boy, there are days where I want to throw my phone to the street. There's certainly no fear of being without it. By name and criticize the din of modern life as crowded technovision. They take this theme to its violent extreme, painting technology as a parasite feeding off our energy, and a tool that will drive us, the guinea pigs of a generation, to madness or death. They quote Ricardo Lopez and the Bjork stalker who committed suicide after mailing her a bomb, like you do. You can't see it, but I just rolled my eyes. And assail the way we have become brains in chains and other things that rhyme. Underneath reads like the Twitter account of a paranoid friend you muted long ago. I did recently find the snooze button on Facebook. It's glorious. 30-day snooze, especially now with everybody going we've been on like quarantine for like, a week, but people have already lost their shit. Yeah, a lot of snoozing going on the old Facebook. Underneath reads like the Twitter account of a paranoid friend you muted long ago, or the slapdash musings of someone who shouldn't smoke sativa after morning coffee. Well, we'll come back to this in just a second, but I would like to hear you back that up, sir, because I'm not sure I'm with you. Not sure I'm with you at all. This next song is called A Sliver. So we're back to a lot of what I didn't love about Autumn and Carbine, with that kind of slowed down, smooth, deftone sound. Yeah, all right. I guess there's pockets of this sort of sound that they reserve for songs like this, which again break up the monotony of what they were doing earlier in the album. But it's such a departure from what I think makes this band really interesting. So we have one more song left, but I'm going to read one more bit of this Pitchfork review, and we'll see if this author backs up their contentions about this album. The music itself prompts the same sort of shrug and chuckle. Okay, you don't know shrug and chuckle until you've heard fucking OTEP. Is our Opeth, whichever, the I'm a Boss bitch, that one, whichever one that was. An overzealous pastiche full of inspirations but near devoid of new ideas. Underneath is as goofy and garish as the worst of nu metal. Oh, slow down! No. We have played some nu metal on this show. We have played nu metal recently on this show. This isn't even close to garish and the worst of nu metal. Sir, ma'am, whoever you are, they Have you not heard last year's Papa Roach? Which was amazing, by the way. But certainly garish and goofy. And the worst of new metal. My goodness. Somewhere out there, Fred Durst is still working on Stampede of the Disco Elephants. Get a hold of yourself. Code Orange sprint between touchstones and subgenres as if they were running a Tough Mudder. Trying to prove their versatility and grit. Cold metalcore, Guild's grindcore with harsh noise like Pig Destroyer, with an unnecessarily big budget. While Last One's Left founders in its attempt to find solid ground between Slipknot and Wolf Eyes. Yep, we get it. You know a lot of bands. Got it. Moving on. The radio-ready anthems here are hackneyed and awkward, like 90s leftovers reheated. All right. With post-millennial white adolescent rage. Are you mad you had to review this? Whoever you are? Jesus Christ. My goodness. Oh, I'm not. Grayson Haver Curran, contributor. March 17th, 2020. Pitchfork. Ugh. But did you not get invited to the party or something? What happened, buddy? Very, very unfair. I don't like it. I think you're off base with your review there. I don't think it's a 5-star album by any means, but it's not less than half of 10 stars. Calm the fuck down, as we like to say here on the Metal Hammer of Doom. All right. Last track, title track. This is Underneath, and then we're going to wrap up this solo podcast. Here we go. So, overall, here are my thoughts. Here's the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good, it's dynamic, it's interesting, it stays away from the same Z. Most of it's pretty heavy. I think it's one of the more interesting albums we've reviewed this year in terms of tone and depth of sound. Here's the bad, some not so great shit on here. Some of this stuff, and this is the little bit that I agree with the Pitchfork review, who also cited that some of this stuff sounds like the Deftones, by the way. Haha. Is that some of it where I think they were shooting for mainstream is devoid of the life that makes this band interesting, and it seems a little too. It does come across as a bit hackneyed. The ugly, it's too long. This thing without the first instrumental clocks in at around 48 minutes ish, and 14 tracks. Cut 2 or 3 of these. Cut Autumn and Carbine. Cut a sliver. There's probably 1 or 2 more here you could probably lose, and make this a little bit tighter. Give me a solid 10 or 11 kick-ass, dynamic, interesting tracks, and I think you've got you've got probably one of the best albums of this year in this particular genre of music. With all this extra fluff and nonsense, degrades the quality down a bit for me. So that's it. That's my thoughts on the new Code Orange Underneath, now available on whatever streaming platform you desire to listen to music. Next week, it'll probably be myself again. I'll be reviewing the new Ozzy Osbourne album, Ordinary Man. I believe Jesse is still going to be just out of reach. Just out of reach. Not available. He's off helping the good people of Ohio not fall into abject poverty. Because he's a Superman. Hey there, Captain America, as they said in the last Five Finger Death Punch album. So, for me, I'm your mandated reporter, Mr. Mark Radulich. We'll see you next time. Be well, be safe, and behave.